Welcome. This is ratios level number 2. Our learning targets today are I can represent ratios with tape diagrams, and I can use tape diagrams to compare ratios and solve real-world problems. Rate yourself before the lesson 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. At the end of this lesson, you'll come back and see how you're feeling about these learning targets. Our opening problem says, write 3 ways to represent the ratio of hearts to lightning bolts. Now, I know when I write ratios, I can write them 3 different ways. I can write them with a colon. I can write them with the word to, and I can write them as a fraction. Now, when we write ratios, the order matters. So in this problem, it said hearts first. So I'm going to write the number of hearts first. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 hearts. And then lightning bolts came second. So that's going to be my second number I write. We have 1, 2, 3 lightning bolts. So our ratio of hearts to lightning bolts is 4 to 3. We can write it with a colon. We can write it as 4, 2, 3 with the word to. And then last but not least, we can write it as a fraction. This is review from ratios level number 1. Let's take a look at our notes. A ratio, and you should be writing with me, is a way of comparing 2 or more quantities. We can compare things like apples and oranges, books to pencils, students to teachers, or hearts to lightning bolts. Now, a really key thing about ratios is the order of the numbers in a ratio matters. So if you notice up here, when we did hearts to lightning bolts, because there was 4 hearts, and the problem asked for hearts first, I wrote 4 first. Tape diagrams are a way to visualize ratios in the comparison. So what's really important about tape diagrams is to draw equal sized boxes. So every box should be the same size and super neat. And then we also need to label the tape diagrams with what they represent. And we'll practice that in the next example. Example A says, the grocery store has 5 different types of apples and 3 different types of oranges. Draw a tape diagram to represent the ratio of apples to oranges. Okay, so remember, it's really important that we label our tape diagram with what they represent. So in this case, we're talking about 5 different types of apples and 3 different types of oranges. And underlining is a really great strategy. So the first thing I'll do is I'll write apples and oranges. That's us labeling. And it says we have 5 different types of apples. So I'm going to make every single box the exact same size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 different types of oranges. I'm going to keep them really lined up. Okay, so this box for oranges should be directly beneath this box for apples, and they should all be the same size. So basically, you should be able to see that if I have 5 apples and 3 oranges, I have 2 more apples. You should be able to easily see that with tape diagrams. This problem says, example B, 8 students in social studies think Abe Lincoln is the best. 2 students think George Washington is. Draw a tape diagram to represent the ratio of Lincoln fans to Washington fans. Step 1, we're going to label our tape diagram. I'm going to label them Lincoln and Washington. I'm using pencil because I know I'm going to draw a lot of boxes and I might need to erase and make them look neater. So it says 8 students think Lincoln is the best president. So I'm going to draw 8 boxes. Each one is going to be equal in size. Oop, I went a little bit off my page, but that's okay. I really recommend using a pencil so you can make it look neater if needed. And then for Washington, it says 2 students think George Washington's the best president. So I'm going to start right where I started under Lincoln. 1, 2. And that way I can see that there were 6 more Lincoln fans in Washington. You don't need to write this, but if one of your boxes is this big, okay, that is not correct. So that is not what we're looking for. Go ahead and flip to page 2. Page number 2. Draw a tape diagram to represent each ratio description. So I'm going to do one more example with you, and then you'll complete the rest of this page on your own. As you're making your tape diagrams, make sure each box is the same size, boxes are neat and lined up, and your tape diagrams are labeled. So I'm going to do A with you. A says, for every $5 you earn in helping out chores at home, your younger brother earns $3. So the way I'm going to label it is money you earned and money brother earns. Okay, so it says for every $5 you earn, your brother earns 3. So next to you earned, we're going to draw 5 equal size boxes. It's all about being really neat. Okay, and then the brother earns $3. So I'm going to start right beneath where I started in the tape diagram at the top. I'm going to do my best to make sure every single box is the exact same size. All right, and this is a way we can represent a ratio of 5 to 3. And this tape diagram is helpful because I can see that I earned or you earned 2 more dollars. 5 is 2 more than 3. So what you're going to do is complete the rest of this page. And then when you get to the bottom, there's a little checklist. I want you to circle, are your boxes equal in size? Are your tape diagrams neat and lined up? And are your tape diagrams labeled? Okay, so we labeled them up here. I want you to do the same thing for every one of these. Come back to the video once you're done page number 2. Okay, on page number 3, we're going to add another layer. Now we're going to solve ratio word problems. So we're going to start with the step that we just practiced, drawing tape diagrams. So what I want you to do is for each one of these problems, A, B, C, and D, I want you to just focus on the first sentence and label and draw your tape diagrams. Don't do anything else except draw your tape diagrams for each problem and label them. So for example, for A, the ratio of girls to boys at the party is 3 to 5. So girls came first. So I'm going to draw 3 boxes for girls, and I'll go ahead and do that now. Remember, neat, equal sized, labeled, lined up. Boys came second. So 5 represents boys. Now draw 5 boxes. Boom. That's all I want you to do for each one of these, and then come back to the video. Okay, at this point, you should have your tape diagrams labeled. They should be super neat. Let's just make sure we're good on step number 1. For B, you should have 2 boxes next to dogs, 3 boxes next to cats. For C, you should have 3 boxes next to pencils and 5 boxes next to erasers. For D, 5 next to Kevin and 2 next to younger brother. If you don't have that or you're missing something, go ahead and fix that now and then come back to the video. Okay, so we just completed step number 1, drawing our tape diagrams and labeling our ratios. Step number 2 is to label any other information from the problem. And for the purposes of this lesson, level number 2, we're going to focus just on the total. Okay, so we're going to label the total. Let's take a look at A. So in A, it says if the total amount of people is 40. Okay, so if we want to label the total, what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle all of my boxes. Okay, because I know that the total represents all of them. Underneath my circle, I'm going to go ahead and label total 40. Let's practice just that step for B, C, and D. Go ahead and circle and label the total. So for B, you should have circled all of the boxes. The total is 15. For C, circle all of the boxes. The total is 24. And then for D, the total is 21. Circle all of our boxes, and you guessed it, right? Total 21. So I want you to just pause for a second and think. How do you feel so far? Do you feel good about drawing tape diagrams and labeling them? Do you feel confident that you can circle both tape diagrams and write the total? If so, we're ready to go to step number 3. All right, so we drew our tape diagrams. We labeled the total. Step number 3 is we're going to take our total and we're going to divide it or split it up into how many boxes we have. So in this example, the total number of fruit was 20. And there were 5 boxes total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they did 20 divided by 5 boxes equals 4 per box. Now you will always have the same number in every single box. That's why we keep them equal sized. Okay, make sure you're writing with me. So our total in this case was 40. All right, so let's figure out how many boxes we have all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 boxes. So I'm going to do 40 divided by 8 boxes. And yes, you should write the word boxes. 40 divided by 8 boxes equals 5 per box. Yes, you should write per box also. That'll help you remember what to do. Because after we figure out that there's 5 in each box, we're literally going to write 5 in every single box. Remember, you can pause the video if you need more time. Now that we can see that there's 5 plus 5 plus 5, or 5 times 3 is 15 girls, and 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or 5 times 5 is 25 boys. And a way we can figure out if this is reasonable is, well, if there's 25 boys and 15 girls, that's a total of 40 students. So our answer is correct. There are 15 girls and 25 boys. In B, we had a total of 15 animals. We need to split up this 15 equally into all of these boxes. So we're going to do 15 divided by 5 boxes. You should be writing with me. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. And so that is 3 per box. So I'm going to write 3 in every box. So I can see that I have 3 plus 3 is 6 dogs. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9 cats. And 6 plus 9 is 15. That's the total amount of animals we had. So that's how I know we're right. So we had 6 dogs, 9 cats. Go ahead and do C on your own. Remember, there's steps at the top to help you. This is the last one I'll go over for page number 3. So we had a total of 24 writing utensils. So I'm going to split that evenly into all of our boxes. We have a total of 8 boxes. 24 split up into 8 boxes, that's 3 per box. So I can see 3 times 3 for our pencils is 9. And then for our erasers, we have 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 times 5 is 15. I can check my work by adding together 9 plus 15, which gives us 24, our total. Complete the rest of page 3 and then come back to the video. All right, page 4. We're going to put all of our steps together and examples at the top to help you. I'm just going to do A with you and then have you complete the rest of this on your own. A says the ratio of students invited to the incentive trip to students who did not earn the trip is 4-to-1. If the total number of students is 100, how many made the incentive trip and how many did not? So step number 1 is to draw our tape diagram and label the ratios. So in this case, we have students invited. That came first. 4 came first, so that'll be our first tape diagram. Students invited. And then I'm going to draw 4 equal-sized neat boxes. Then it's students who did not earn the incentive trip, who are not invited. 1. So I'll just write students not invited. And I'll draw 1 box right beneath our first box. Okay, so we completed step number 1. Step number 2 is to label any other information from the problem. So this problem also told us that there's a total of 100 students. So I'm going to label the total by circling all of our boxes and writing total 100. Boom, nailed it. Step number 3 is to solve to figure out the value of 1 boxes. All boxes will have the same number. So I'm going to take my total and divide it by how many boxes I have. Well, how many boxes do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to do 100 divided by 5 boxes, which equals 20 per box. So in every box, I'm going to write 20. Now I can solve. I can say, okay, well, 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, or 20 times 4 is 80. And we just have one box of 20. So students not invited are 20. So we have 80 students that made it, 20 students that did not make it, and those add together to give us our total number of students, 100. Go ahead and complete the rest of page 4 and then come back to the video. Page number 5 is the same thing we've already been practicing. I'll do one example with you and then you can do the rest on your own. Sean and Harrison are using ribbon to decorate a display in the classroom. The ratio of Sean's ribbon to Harrison's ribbon is 6:2. Sean came first, so I know his ribbon is 6. Harrison came second, so I know his ribbon is 2. We're going to start by labeling our tape diagrams. So for Sean, I drew 6 boxes, and Harrison, I drew 2. It's helpful to use pencil because as you can see, I kind of went over, and this box is a little bit smaller. So that is not a good example. Make sure that you're making every single box the exact same size. Step number 1, label our tape diagrams. Step number 2, label other information from the problem. So it says there are 56 ribbons total. So I'm going to go ahead and circle all of my boxes. I'm going to write total 56. And I know I need to split up that 56 equally into however many boxes we have. So we have 6 for Sean, 2 for Harrison. So that's a total of 8 boxes. So I'm going to do 56 divided by 8 boxes. 56 divided by 8 is 7. So that's 7 per box. Now I can just solve. Sean, we have 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 times 6 is 42. Or you could just add 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, but multiplying is quicker. And then for Harrison, 7 times 2 is 14. Remember, a way you can check to see if your work is reasonable is to add them together and see if they equal your total. So 42 ribbons plus 14 ribbons gives us a total of 56 ribbons. Complete the rest of part 5 and then come back to the video. Complete the common misconception problem and then come back to the video. Kayla solved the following problem. The ratio of cats to dogs is 3:2. If there are a total of 25 animals, how many cats are there? How many dogs are there? So Kayla's answer is there are 75 cats and 50 dogs. Did Kayla solve correctly? If not, what mistake did she make? Well, if I'm looking at this problem, I can see that Kayla correctly made her tape diagram. 3 cats, for every 3 cats, there are 2 dogs. However, there are a total of 25 animals. Instead of 25 as the total, Kayla put 25 in each box. So that is not correct. What Kayla should have done is labeled the total 25 and then split up the 25 equally into 5 boxes. 25 divided by 5 boxes equals 5 per box. Because if you added all of these up, okay, you would get 125. We only have a total of 25 animals. So there should have been just 5 in each one of these boxes. Now, if you add them all up, they equal 25. So did Kayla solve correctly? Remember, we want to take this one question at a time and make sure we answer everything. So I answered just this first one. Did Kayla solve correctly? No, Kayla did not solve correctly. I took my question and I made it into a sentence. The second part of this question is, if not, what mistake did she make? Well, Kayla did not label the total correct. Kayla incorrectly labeled the total, so I answered the second part of that question. B says, are there any steps that Kayla did correctly? Well, we talked about that. She did label her tape diagram correctly, and all of the boxes were equal sized. So that step she did correct. Kayla correctly labeled cats and dogs. She also made neat, equal sized boxes. Go ahead and complete the closing problem on your own, then come back to the video. At the bottom of page 6, complete debrief A and B. In your own words, what did you learn today? How much effort did you put in? And what do you think is a common misconception or a common mistake a student might make? Once you've answered our debrief questions, go back to page number 1 and rate yourself after the lesson. So at the beginning of this lesson, you rated yourself 1 through 5 based off of our learning targets. Now that we've taken notes and practiced, I want you to rate yourself after the lesson. 1 is the lowest. You're not quite there yet. 3, I feel okay about it. And 5, I'm an expert and could teach another student. If you're interested in getting more ratios practice, make sure to check out ratios level number 3.